Thanks, Paul.
Joe, how much pride does that give you, that performance? It's obviously very disappointing, but looking ahead for the Lions and the amount of pride that's been restored in this jersey, how do you reflect on that?
Yeah, I was proud of the team. I thought they demonstrated a level of grit that you need if you're going to be competitive with the Lions and competitive with Ireland, number 2 team in the world. And I think we made them work pretty hard tonight to get the win. We'd love to have got into the mix and got the W ourselves, but at the same time, I think from where we started at the end of last November, when the boys came back after their break post the World Cup, to where we are now, I think there's a bit more confidence in what they're delivering. They're a little bit more connected, and there's still a bit of growth to go, I'm hoping.
Joe, obviously you've got a big decision to make, which you've committed to making in December when you've had a bit more time to reflect. How much does that performance help you to see that whether you stay or whether you don't, that this team's going in the right places?
I think I'd already knew that this group of young men they had that in them, and it was just for them to find it and galvanise each other and then deliver it. I felt that at times in that first half we didn't quite capitalise on some of the line breaks that we made. We did get to the ball and we did keep the ball, and I felt Max Jorgensen's try was really well worked to finish that after going side to side. So in the second half, probably my one disappointment around the game is that I felt we got quite conservative, and when you do that against Ireland and you're hanging on and you've got a 4-point lead and you're hoping that's enough, I just think we tried to do that from too far out, started kicking it back or kicking it out, giving them a set piece to launch from, and I don't know what the territory and possession stats were, but we were having to work very, very hard.
Also, Fraser McWright, an amazing performance. How do you reflect on his inclusion and just what he brought, obviously, with Harry and Rob as well in the back row?
Yeah, the back row was super. I thought Fraser got through a mountain of work. He slipped through tackles. He got on the ball for turnovers, one clean penalty, and was very close to getting a few others. So Fraser was really impressive, and he's a really quiet achiever. Says very little, does lots. He's one of my favourite sort of players. Don't have to talk about it, just get it done. But I think the whole back row really were working pretty hard to try to get it done tonight.
You said that you want to get the side as good as possible to face the Lions. Do you think now that you've got a team that's will be ready to take them on when they come over?
Maybe not yet, but I think and I hope our supporters and supporters of the Lions can see enough in what we've delivered in these last 4 weeks to think that they're going to be entertained and that it's going to be a contest. And so that's what I'd love to see, and maybe not yet. We've still got some work to do for sure. And I felt that there were times tonight where we've still got some guys who've only played a couple of tests and they're still learning. And they're not going to get a lot of learning as far as test matches are concerned next year, but the Super Rugby window will be great for them to build again. And I've got to say, the Super Rugby coaches, I talk to them often, and we're going to try to keep building that momentum. And by the time the Lions arrive, I'm hoping next July that you'll see a Wallaby team worthy of taking them on head on.
Harry, you want a turnover, you personally want a turnover when Ireland were on 5 or 6 phases in your 22. It was like the oxygen just went down at the ground. It was like it felt like Ireland were done. Did you think at that point, regardless of you running low and juice, that you said, yeah, okay, we may have turned the corner here?
No, I definitely didn't think that. They were relentless there in the second half. Obviously, when we were ahead there, we had plenty of confidence, and I guess I was very proud of our defensive effort, especially in that second half. We kept on showing up for each other, and yeah, I think that's definitely our standard defence-wise. But as probably what Joe said, we probably need to get down there and get some points because they kept them coming and they eventually got over there.
Joe, you managed to disrupt them in their set piece, so a couple of intercepts. How much of that did you see opportunity in, or was that the players taking chance?
No, I obviously I've watched them play for a long time, and we felt that there were places that they would try to attack, and I felt that we scrambled really well and got a bit of pressure through the line on their pass receivers, which then can create a few turnovers, but obviously not quite enough of them because they kept that pressure on toward the end, and as Harry said, they were relentless.
Joe, could I ask you two things? Just the performance of Sam Prendergast, one of the younger guys that you probably didn't know an awful lot about. Some of the older guys obviously you knew pretty well, just what you made of his performance, and also it was such a long week, such a lot of hype about you coming back here. What was it like for you today in the end?
Yeah, I think young Sam, I'd still be good friends with Richie Murphy. Richie was talking about him 2 years ago as a real talent, so it was no surprise to me. He's got a great short kicking game, but his long kicking game was exceptional tonight. I thought, a couple of times they got penalties and he put us deep into our own 22, and when that's happening, it's pretty difficult because there's not a lot of oxygen there, and I guess I've seen him kick goals exceptionally well. He obviously missed that first one, which would have been normally something he'd knock over very, very easily. And when that happens to a young man, he can be put off his game a little bit, but I didn't notice that, unfortunately. He certainly still looked pretty much on his game. So playing in the Ireland system, you've always got options inside out. And so that takes a bit of the pressure off. I felt we did isolate him a few times tonight and really get some pressure on him. And he did look a little bit flustered, which is unusual for the young man that he is. He's usually very, very calm. So, yeah, he's got great potential. I've got to say, I'd be a fan of Jack Crowley as well. I think Jack is a super player and a very brave one. He's a very good defender. He's got a good long kicking game. But again, for me coming back, it was just about the team and trying to prepare this team as best I could without being too distracted by the number of catch-ups I've had during the week. I'll head home to Churchtown for a week and catch up with family and catch up with friends over the next week or so.
So just obviously with your game plan, they were the one that you put in BeanymanNews and look at the place at the fourth quarter camp.
It was a little bit similar in some ways in that we had a lot less ball in Ireland, and it's just about being, we're talking a little bit about you can't beat them with a sledgehammer. You've got to get the scalpel out and you've got to be accurate, and that's the best way to try to open them up. And probably a disappointment is I felt we probably opened them up just enough times to get enough scoreboard separation. When you get 13-5, that's a nice separation. If we could have scored first after half time and it's our kickoff and we're kicking deep and then suddenly give up a penalty and they come closer. And so, that was probably a disappointment because I just felt if we could have built on that lead in the first 10 minutes after half time, it could have been just emphasise the pressure that Ireland were under.
One of them.
Yeah, Joe, just on being back again, good to see you again. Have you, you obviously left after the World Cup and you didn't get a chance to say goodbye to a lot of people here. Have you felt appreciated again, just going about your daily business by have you felt that appreciation of people being grateful?
It's been a bit embarrassing though. The boys give me a hard time. We got on a plane and I'd had a selfie with these ladies, and then one of them turned around when we were all boarded and yelled out to me that there was a spare seat up next to her, and the boys thought that was hilarious, So I've copped it. from them, but I felt the same warmth that I felt for 10 years here. My family were incredibly well looked after here. I think they talk about Dublin and how some kids they stay at home forever. Ours just stayed long enough for us to leave, instead of them leaving home. So my daughter's here. I think my son will end up shifting back here with his Irish wife, and so I think we'll continue to be very much a split family with a very heavy Irish and Kiwi influence, and currently an Aussie intention to keep improving.
Well, could you just rate that performance against the other Northern Hemisphere matches that you played? I know you beat England, you played Wales 3 times and you won those with Georgia in there as well. But could I suggest to you that was the best performance maybe of all of the ones that you guys put in, given it was at the end of the bit and you're a bit tired? Did you vote?
Yeah. I was talking to the bus driver and I said, maybe drop me off and I'll have a vote here. And I was talking to Tommy Bowe on Wednesday, and he does the breakfast TV. And so I tried to get some intel from him on who I should vote for. So I knew I shouldn't vote by the time I got that intel from Tommy. So no, I didn't vote, but yeah.
No trouble. All those exams, all about learning the national anthem.
Yeah, no, I almost fell into the national anthem today, but I stuck with Australia Fair. So it's a very good performance. I thought our second half, maybe against the All Blacks in Sydney, was probably as good as we went as well. We lost that one by 3 points as well. So when you're losing by 3 to the All Blacks in Ireland, you do feel like you're not that far away from the top table, that you can't keep building and be competitive. And from a year last year where Portugal and Georgia were the only scalps and a number of losses in and around that, and the disappointment of missing out on the playoff stages of the World Cup. I'm heartened by where we've got to and determined by what's in front of us.
Last one. Sorry, this goes. That's good.
Joe, I was just going to ask, you talk about growth to come. What happens next with the squad? How much time do you have? I don't know whether you'll get any sort of warm-up games together as a group. And when you talk about the Super Rugby coaches, can you put together a kind of framework for them to help you in terms of getting where you want to get?
No, it's a good question. I think the first flight leaves for Australia at 5 a.m. So we haven't got a lot of time, and I'm not sure how much of that time they'll be really intentional about listening to much, because I think they're going to celebrate the end of the season, 13th Test match. So we'll get together for a couple of days in January 8 to 10, and that will allow us to sign off on this year and plot our way ahead, and then we get together a week or two before the Lions arrive. So that in itself is a real challenge, but I do think we've built enough confidence and cohesion this year that we can pick it up again, late June, early July next year. And that in itself is a challenge, but it's a great challenge. That's the way I'd see it, and certainly the way the players would see it as well. That that challenge is balanced by opportunity. What a fantastic opportunity to play against the Lions. It's usually only once that you get that chance, because it's only once every 12 years. If you're James Slipper and you hang around for long enough, maybe you get a couple of shots at it. But certainly for young by comparison, Harry, just turned 25, he's probably not thinking about playing against him at 37, but you never know.
This is the last one here, please.
Joe, Ireland went in as heavy favourites, and it's a type that has never really sat easily on Ireland's shoulders when we're expected to win games at 14 points favourites, I think. Do you use that? Were you talking about that to your players beforehand, or are you aware of maybe how Ireland jam up when they're expected to win?
No, I don't see Ireland like that. There were times where we won 12 games in a row, and the expectation grew with each win that we had. So, in my experience, to get to world number one, and they've spent a fair bit of time there now, the expectation to win, that doesn't weigh too heavily on their shoulders. It more gives them a bit of confidence that that's the level they're capable of, because you don't earn that without delivering very good performances. So it wasn't a focus for us. We probably focused the least on our opponent that we've focused for quite some time, just because we had 2 short trainings on the back of a 12-month season and a 6-day turnaround, plus a travel across from Edinburgh. We just wanted to try to get ourselves sorted. And so, I didn't even really get to talk too much about Ireland, because there wasn't a lot else we could fit into the week.
Thanks, boss. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's your best idea.
Thanks.
Safe travel.